Now, currently, 3/4 of France's energy comes from nuclear power, but Nicolas Hulot says in the interview that France aims to cut that to 50% by 2035. Now, almost 1/3 of EDF's 58 nuclear reactors are under maintenance, and the government says it plans to close 25 of them within the next 15 years. EDF shares fell more than 10% on Monday. That was its biggest intraday loss since its listing in 2005. EDF says it's cutting its earnings targets for 2018 due to delays in reopening some of its reactors. The stock made a slight recovery on Tuesday, gaining 2%. Let's get more on this now from TRT World's editor-at-large, Craig Copetas, who joins me from Paris. Great to have you, as always, Craig. Now, France has been reliant on nuclear energy for quite some time, for nearly 5 decades now. How is France going to wean itself off nuclear power?
Well, first of all, I think it needs to be known that Nicolas Hulot is a politician standing on a soapbox. There's nothing new in that interview. The French National Assembly in 2015 voted to cut by 50% France's 58 nuclear reactors. So this process is going to be ongoing. These renewables they talk about, it's still questionable whether there's going to be enough there to actually power France. Now, you may say, well, you know, France is the largest nuclear power producer in the world, et cetera, et cetera. But just a few days ago, EDF reported that demand is up and production is not up to speed, and they're expecting cutbacks this winter that are not to exceed 2 hours, and they're just going to have these cutbacks during the day, no night cuts, and just in rural areas. So there's clearly something amiss within the atomic power electricity generating system here in France.
Tell us a little bit more about Nicolas Hulot. He's quite an interesting character in terms of the French body politic. He's long spoken out against nuclear power and against fossil fuels, hasn't he?
Well, yes, and I think to a degree to his detriment. You have to understand the history here. France went nuclear in 1973 in reaction to the oil crisis. There was a prime minister at the time by the name of Paul Mesmer, and he created what was known as the Mesmer Plan. And that plan, in one sentence, which became a slogan here in France, was, in France we do not have oil, but we have ideas. Because France had no oil or coal or any other energy, they started to build nuclear power plants and sell them abroad. And France is a great engineering country. They built wonderful power plants. In the history, there's only been a dozen incidents here in France, most of them fairly minor. And they were so successful at doing this that it became the biggest exporter of energy within the EU.
Right. Craig,
so it was a real success story here.
Quick final question. EDF is struggling with heavy debts. Can it survive in its current form for much longer?
No, particularly when 85% of its shares are in government hands. EDF needs more privatization. The government is now pushing it into these renewables. And again, one has to wonder if that other energy there. And remember one other thing here, boys and girls. This is very important. You know, France avoids 31 billion tons of carbon emissions every year because of their nuclear power facilities. It's a big number.
I'm afraid we are going to have to leave it there. We are out of time. Craig Copetas in Paris. Thank you.